G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Enno here from Fantasy Take TV. Today we'll be going over the round 11 review, my score, how I went, how I'm coming, looking for the buys coming up. And I will actually touch on my fantasy team at the end. If you want to stick around, I'll do that at the end. Obviously not a big, well, I don't think I've ever made a fantasy video. I might have last year, but look, I've been playing that on the side, I guess, getting a bit of help from JD and George, who love that game, probably a lot more than I do, but doing all right. I'm in about 500th now, so I guess I'll have to pay more attention to that for the second half of the season, but maybe you can help me out as well, because look, I obviously understand how these games sort of work, but fantasy is a little bit different, and I've got the 2-week trial for the fantasy coach or their version of Plus or whatever to sort of help for the buys. But anyway, we'll get into SuperCoach 2447 this week, which was pretty good. Top 2,000 score around that area. Moved up 800 spots into 1308. So almost back inside the top 1,000. Although I actually don't think I set foot in it. I think I was about just outside, maybe 5-6 weeks ago, and sort of been struggling a bit here and there. Traded in Took, put the captain on him, traded in Mills, got his 4, and then a few, amongst a few other things. But it's carnage season at the moment. Everyone's sort of copping a bit. I had Sicily all year. Obviously, he's turned out to be a pretty good pick, but has got himself suspended this week. And as we know, Laird has just got a week, which they might challenge. But we obviously don't know the outcome of that yet. So, we'll get into the team. It's looking a bit dire, but we'll go over last week's scores and then talk about how we're going to attack the buys. So, last week was pretty good. It could have been better. My trades that I did, I once again sort of stuffed up in my thinking, or was umming and ahhing a few things. So I was the week prior. I was tossing up Stewart or Merritt and who to go first, and then the other that I didn't go, I would have got, last week. So that was 2 weeks ago. Went for Stewart first, which I think he dropped to 90 or something, and then Merritt went 160. So obviously that was the wrong ordering. And then this week I was going to get Merritt in, and then I was about 8k short of getting Laird as well. Sort of with a double upgrade. So I opted to just get Atkins as well and bank the cash, and then this week I would be getting Laird as a preferred primo. So I had Merritt all locked to go, and then about an hour before the game, late change, Xavier O'Neill was in. I didn't want to trade in a premium that scored 80 or 90 again, with a tag. So I swapped it and I just said I'll go Laird this week instead. And then I could have updated my trade of Atkins in to spend the 280k that I have in the bank, and I was tossing and turning. Do I get a Lockie Neal? No, it doesn't help me next week for the buys. And I'm kind of glad I did in the end, because it's looking pretty dire with the suspensions and whatnot. So I didn't opt to switch to him. Thought about going McRae as well. Unfortunately, didn't go down that path either, which would have been nice. But now he's got DPP. Obviously, in the back of my mind, that buy was not great. And then the other one, these are the guys I was tossing and turning, because I couldn't afford Merritt and Laird. I was 9k short. So then I went, Degoe was the other one. I was, do I just go him? He's got some nice fixtures coming up. Doesn't have a bad buy. I can get by there, but also knowing that he's probably going to be a trade out at some point. And look, maybe not. Maybe you could sit M8 for the year, do 100, 105. So that was my thinking, but there's always something going to go wrong with Degoe. So, he popped off. McRae popped off, got his DPP. And then, Neil popped off as well. But, look, my buy would be looking pretty bad if I went that route this week. So I just left Atkins there, and then we know what happened there. Watched him get a 28, lose his role, go up to the wing, couldn't really find the ball, and then got subbed out, 3/4 in. So that was pretty hurtful. And then on top of that, MJ scored a 72 during the day. and I opted to do some sort of DPP stuff where you'll obviously take his score, but I could either just bench Atkins, who I was going to, and that was all set up to, or sort of do that trade trick where you move your team around, and so I can bench Humphrey instead, Atkins having maybe a better role, which it turned out he didn't, and then having to watch Humphrey go 90 on my bench as well. Look, glad I've got him. It's been great. Got me a ton last week, blah, 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 but cost myself 70 points there, cost myself, another 100 and what have you, if I just had got a Primo instead of Atkins, like a McRae, Neil, DeGoey, what have you. So really stuffed myself. Still had a good week, of course, went up in the ranks, but it could have been that sort of boost I really needed to get back up there. But nonetheless, we'll get into the team. Sicily, the VC, that was really, really happy with that. Didn't catch the game. Saw that he gave away a few 50s and was stopped on 100 points for ages. And I was thinking, oh, what the hell, this guy's just ruined another big score, and then bang, scored 50 points in the last 5 minutes of the game or something stupid. So I'll have to actually go and watch the highlights of that. I haven't had time or didn't catch the game, so be keen to see how he went. But unfortunately, I know what he did do, and that's get suspended, so it's going to hurt me this week. Stu was really good in that game. Just easiest points that you'd ever see. Like, you just no need to question him. Dacos as well, similar vein. And then Sinclair, not too great. I think he played a bit more midfield this week. Again, I didn't watch that game, but judging off the numbers, that's what it looked like, and that's not always great for his scoring. Atkins, don't want to talk about him ever again. Weddle plugging along nicely, averaging 64, so that's really good. Hopefully, obviously we got the big score the week before, but he can just get up to a good amount of price and cash that we can upgrade him at probably his buy. Cowan, unfortunately, probably won't come back. There's a slight chance, I guess, with the outs at Carlton, but I don't see it, judging by the VFL performers and just where he sits. So he will be cashed in at some point to get sort of, 80, 100k out of him, but not yet. And then Constable, everyone keeps hoping that he comes back. I would just stop hoping. The Bont, really good. This is like just a bad game for Bont these days. So, always looking at him for captaincy really every week. That's the big factor with him. Laird, great. 16 tackles, ridiculous. You'd think a bigger score with 16 tackles, but didn't use it particularly well. And then one of those 16 tackles, unfortunately, was or copped himself a suspension. So we'll see what happens. But look, they're probably challenged. Whether they get off or not, who knows? There's about 20 cases like this year, and they seem to be cracking down. And it's just the way it is. So players have got to learn. Unfortunately, until they do, it's going to keep happening. Dorse, really good as well. Those two were, bulls inside there. Got the win. His ball use has been a bit below his par anyway, as of late. So has cost himself some bigger scores, but we still love having Dorse. Sammy was back in the mids a bit more this week, as well as last week, and missed out on the forward status, because of that. So not the greatest result in the world, could have been alright to just plug him down forward and know that he's going to be top 6 down there. Still think he can go alright as just a mid only, and average about 110, which is what he has so far this year. And then this week he's probably going to get a hell of a lot more mid time and be relied upon pretty deeply in there, because Cripps might be out. I know Hewitt's out, concussion, and Cherra's challenging his 1 week ban, so we'll see what happens there. Could be a VC option, maybe one for fantasy more than SuperCoach. And then Andy, loved him since we've got him in, so he's been really good. I think he got an 88 in that first week, but that could have easily been more. 130 basically the next two, and looks to have turned a corner, as have Freo. He says he's injury free, has been for about a month now, and you can see that in his form. So I do love Andy. I know a lot of people get a bit disgruntled by him, and look, you can at times just for SuperCoach scoring. I get that, but as a player, love him. He's going well in the other formats too. So in the peak of his powers as a AFL player and heading towards his prime. So I do love watching Andy play. Tommy Green has been just 110. That's what I kind of expected from him starting the year, and you just knew his role, good enough price, started that him for a reason, and just going to be a season hold and hopefully do those numbers for the rest of the year. Will Day's an interesting one. Hasn't really done much for us, or hasn't since we've got him in. 5-round average of 83, I think, is pretty much how long we've had him. Yeah, so just hasn't hit the ton yet. He gets like 30 touches every week. I think he's averaging 28 in this time, but it's like 5 or 6 clangers a game. Doesn't use it particularly well sometimes. Is that great burst player out of stoppage, but then seems to be missing targets, and just, is quite a frustrating own. But I'm going to back in the data behind him for another couple of weeks, at least till his bye, and then reassess, because you won't find many better options at his price in his position. Like, he's a defender, of course, who's getting almost 30 a week playing midfield, 70% CBA. So we're going to leave him there, see what happens. Hopefully he can turn a corner with his SuperCoach scoring, because he's going well in the other formats as well. And then we used Rowson to loop and get MJ score, which is nice. MJ, I think Yago Mira got suspended. I think they're challenging that as well. But if that gets upheld, obviously he's got the bye this week, but following that might get himself some more mid-time in that week. Humphrey, of course, will be on the field for us during the byes, and then from now on, and Chincotta, hopefully comes back for any of us that own him. With a few of the injuries there, Newman and whatnot. In defence, Kenny was playing defence, probably moves to the midfield. Should be a spot in defence for him if they want to give it to him. So, we hope that happens. Rowan, I think he had a big second half, poor first half from what I could tell. Didn't watch the game, but we'll be happy with Rowan. Nothing really needs to be said about him. Then we use Madden to loop and grab Sicily's score and have English on the bench there. So English obviously hasn't quite reached the heights. I mean, we missed, I think, 2 of these 130s, or maybe even 3. Yeah, 3 of them. And had him in since here. So, we got some big scores there. But then just, look, beggars can't be choosers. I think it's still, 5-round average of 105, which, look, it's just probably not, it's not as high as what he was going. I feel he can turn a corner again. They got this massive Marvel run coming up. Segler or Reece Stanley if he's back. Lysette, that's easy. Goldie, not an easy one, actually going quite well in the ruck, but still could get him around the ground somewhat. Frere will be Luke Jackson, so that's probably a good chance or opportunity at least to get some good scores. And then Collingwood just got DC coming back again. That's all right of a matchup. And Sydney and all that pretty easy. So look, he can pump out some bigger scores, come around the corner. We'll see. Hopefully he does that. But for now, I'm probably not going to captain or look at that for the time being. With English dunks, I've said it in the Discord a few times to the boys, but it's just so funny. I managed to captain him in this 103 here, his last month of May, and he's gone 150 in every other game. So, I think I've VC'd him somewhere along the lines back here too. So, look, that's just classic SuperCoach. But Dunks, he's an option for that. He is in really, really good form. Obviously the bye this week, but after that, I know people might, looking at Neil, but for the same reason, they have Hawthorn. Sydney haven't been too great lately. Either Saints, but like here, Richmond, West Coast, up at the Gabba, that'll be a great chance to VC Dunks, I would have thought. Timmy T, unbelievable. I love this man. He's been clearly our best player for the whole season. Don't even think it's remotely close anymore. 4 goals on the weekend. 33 touches, just a one-man band in there at the minute. I'd hate to think where we'd even be without him. We're not in much of a position anyway, only won, 2 or 3 games, but just been super consistent, low of 95 and 90, and other than that, straight tons all year and almost averaging 120. So, remarkable season thus far from Timmy. I hope he keeps it up and probably wins the BNF at the end of the year. Goulden, just okay by his standards, recently, but I think that's, kind of as low as we can get or expect from Goulden, provided his role stays the same. Rosie, really good form lately, along with Butters. They've been going really nicely. Shees is an interesting one, still averaging, about 100 on the year, but obviously playing a different role as of late, bit more forward mid this game. Bit there too in this game, but second half, and I think the whole second half, didn't attend to centre bounce and played majority back in that defence role. So one to keep an eye on. I think his break-even's, 79? So, that's what he scored last week. So obviously no need to trade him. I don't think anyone's in that position with all the carnage going on. But, see how he goes in the next few games. If they play him back in that defender role, then we're not even going to think about trading him, but we'll see what happens. And then Seamus, hopefully, is okay. Might have twisted his knee at the end, but he's on an injury report, and so I believe he'll play this week. But we'll wait and see. And then Simpson, I might need him, so we'll hope he's back. But at this point, I'm currently trading him. So if we just chuck on, who's playing in this round, obviously Sinclair's not. So, look, don't expect Constable to play, but I'll do it anyway. Same with Cowan, but Sicily obviously suspended. Humphrey will come back on, and then Chincotta hopefully will play. I don't expect Rowson to, but we'll see what happens if so. And, look, I doubt it, but if he does, then I can fix that up. English, obviously, for Marshall, and then Sammy Simpson for, either of these fellas here. Doesn't really matter. So, right now, we'll count who I think is definitely playing. So Stewart, Dacos, that's 2. Weddle, 3, and that's it. Bont, 4. Laird, 5. Dawson, 6. Walsh, 7. Green, 8. Day, 9. Humphrey, 10. Not going to count Chincotta. English, 11. And then Taranto, Rosie, Sheasel, Mitchell is 15. So, really not looking great for me, I'll be honest. But obviously, I can make some trades to get that in a bit of a better position. So, I think the first one is I'm just going to probably get rid of Cowan now. He's not coming back. It's not looking likely. We can put Seamus up here, and then the easiest trade in the week this week will be Eddie Ford, playing sort of that high half forward, maybe a bit of wing roll. A bit of an outside player, but really, really good user, really, hard runner, smart player. Obviously needs North to be in some decent positions in games, which they have been lately. They've been okay. Like early in that Collingwood game, they really were, first half at least, up to it in their right. Like they could have been a lot closer than they were, and then obviously faded sort of in the second half. But yeah, 123k, has 180 in his system. Like you've got to go for that. And then the other one is George Wardlaw, who I'm not too keen on. Like, obviously, score, you can read just into the score and have a bit of recency bias there. But, look, what was his TOG on the weekend? I'll quickly pump it up here. I think it was in the 60s, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, 66. Like, he does have those injury concerns. Like, has done his hammy multiple times as a junior. They really eased him into this season in the 2s, and then have given him a go now. But they might be wanting to rest him soon. There's still 3 games till the bye for them. So yeah, if he'd scored bigger? Obviously, you'd probably want to go for it. But he's still 190k as well. I'm probably just not going to go there. So the other man that a lot of people would be looking at, and I can just probably do anyone here, Rowson probably ain't going to play, get Matty Roberts up there, is Briggs. So has scored back-to-back tons, playing ruck for the Giants at the minute with Flynn being dropped. So they seem, they obviously dropped Flynn for a reason. Briggs had been playing quite well in the 2s. I know Flynn's gone back and done the same thing. Obviously not the hardest for ruck. Sometimes you might get some easy matchups. There's not a depth of rucks across the country that, there's not even a depth of rucks in the AFL that are, of high standard. So back-to-back tons, that's really good for his, obviously, cash potential. I think another, let's say he averages 80 the next few weeks. Like, he's going to make at least 150. That's probably a given. If he goes 80s, otherwise, it has a potential to go, we'll say 120s, but he has a potential to go 120 to even 220, in that range for his 3 games until his bye, and then you could flip him again. Problem is, you do this, and I'll just complete it with my setup. I only really benefit from it this week, right? Get that out of here. He obviously only covers Marshall this week, which doesn't really do much for me. 1 week, next week, all the rucks play. Week after, all my rucks play. Week after that, him and English have got the bye. So he's probably going to be on the bench for 13 and 14. It only really helps me in round 12, but the cash is probably what helps me most. as I'm not in the best position to finish my team with my sort of trades left. Obviously, I'll use this cash to get a primo that we'll talk about in a second, but then I've got 10 trades left, and I've still, I think, got 3 upgrades to do. So it's not really looking good for me. So that's probably where I'm looking, is I probably really do need Briggs' money to get a team done. So it comes down to this. We know Sicily isn't playing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We'll say Atkins is playing for now. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Not counting Simpson or Madden. Now, Simpson was rested. He might come back in, but look, it looks like I'll get 18 just which way or another. Cincotta most likely to come back. I'm not counting Constable. Don't think he will personally. So there's sort of 19 there to work with. Simpson maybe 20 if he gets back in. He was rested and didn't play 2, so they may have truly rested him just because he had such a long layoff, and he might be best 22, but we'll see. That leads me to one thing. Rory fucking Atkins, get the hell out of my team. I don't know why I did it. He's going to come in and out as quick as you can blink. Move whatever up here. And the man I've been looking at a little bit closely is Darcy Cameron. Now, obviously McRae's there. Really could be tempted by him. Buy is terrible. Like, it just doesn't work for me really looking at it. I pretty much would just be resorting to the fact that I'll be going in with, probably 16, 17 at best, sort of, provide all the rookies play and hold and you don't get any more injuries or suspension bullshit. So, I'd love to own him. I wish I got him last week, of course, got his 140 and did get Atkins. But I think what's best for me is Darcy Cameron. And look, yes, he's 2 weeks off the injury, but he did have 88% ruck contest. His TOG's already back up to what it was before the injury, so it looks like he's fit and firing. Scored 80 on the weekend, obviously not amazing by any stretch, but Goldie's been in really good form and not an easy matchup this year. Obviously gets West Coast matchup this week, so, in a real short-term view at it, it looks quite good. But he can go 100, in that sort of ruck role with that ruck split going forward, Gives you cover, he's cheap, like 470. It gives me 100k in the bank still to go towards my next trade, which, to be honest, I'm looking like I want a Sarong probably next week, maybe a Neil off there by. And that'll be sort of through your Weddle and Seamus, most likely. So that's the way I'm looking at it. So, if we look at my round 15, because that's where most people are going to struggle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Hopefully MJ's still in. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 with Gordon. So counting all the ones I, most likely to play, pretty locked in. That's 16. So I'll be able to get to 18, trading out probably someone like a Cincotta, Briggs, as I said, when he maxes out there, or, trade him at his buy. So I should be able to get around about 18 just. So, but if DC was McRae, there's an automatic one less primo that round, and just, really hurting the chance that I'll have 18 for that round. So it's hard. Obviously, McRae would be lovely to have, even the Butters, of course, all that sort of jazz. Butters obviously really expensive. Just doesn't make sense, I don't think. So I'm looking at someone like a DC. There are others I've looked at, in the midfield, like it could be his teammate, obviously, Degoe, but I probably think the ship sailed there. Not fully sailed, but you missed the 150 against North. Like, are you going to get many more of those? Probably not. And we know what, Degoe can be really up and down. So that's the way I'm looking. It doesn't feel amazing, obviously, but at least I've got 8, or should have 18 this week. I do expect Cincotta to come in, but obviously not certain on it. Then off the bye, I'll probably, as I said, look at a Sarong, look at someone like that. Might even end up still flipping a Sheasel or a Day, but my trades aren't in the healthiest position, so Anyway, I've talked enough. That's sort of my thinking for now, but obviously a big week to think about all that. I'll quickly show you my fantasy team. This is how it sort of went last week with the scores. So I'm sitting at 590th, for the season now, and I did I think JD came, so we both had like a top 20 or 30 round score, scoring 2,387. I think JD got 2,400 just or thereabouts. So he's going really well. I think he's about 100th or something, I want to say. I can't remember what it is, but around about there. So, yeah, going quite well. Didn't VC Sicily, unfortunately. I VC'd Errol for whatever reason. I think I forgot and left it on Errol. And then went for green. Thought maybe at GMHBA, small ground. Cats don't have many mids at the moment. He could go off, but just got a so-so score. Got led in the last week, as well as... Who else did I get? Ended up going for the old Irishman down in defence from Geelong. So, really wanted Laird. Got me the 130, but unfortunately he's got himself suspended as well. So, it's not looking great. Copied that in both formats now. Can't really do anything with these guys. They're all on bye. Sinclair's on bye as well. Obviously, Sicily suspended as well, so that's all great. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then we'll go 16. Probably not 17 there, but probably 17 with Samson if we chose to keep. And then we can probably get 17 with Angwin. Or maybe 18 if so. But I'll probably trade Will Ashcroft here and probably Samson, and then make a third one with Wilmot. And it's just really who's coming in is the bigger question. So do I want to get Briggs in this format as well? Do I want to look at DC? I think DC is only about 600k. Could go for him. Could even just go for him in the ruck line. I think it works where next week... no, I think it's next week it doesn't. But then 14 and 15, they both have the bye, and you could... You could make it that way, but you'd probably, you'd be losing a score, so you probably wouldn't do it. But if we do Ashcroft out, I think I had him, so doing my planning, Samson, and for whatever reason, this game you have to do 2 at a time, but I think I wanted McAndrew, wherever he is, in there. So look, if he plays, great. If not, he's just sort of, a loop and what have you. There's not really much else I can see to be done in the ruck line. And then what we will actually do is get a defender in Tom Stewart, because he's actually still relatively cheap in this format. I think he's majorly owned in teams above me as well, so it's probably just a bit of a safe play in just covering off that pod, and he's obviously a good option himself. So I think I've done those 2 trades. And the last one was just Wilmot, who's on his buy, has probably peaked at somewhat of a price, and getting in someone like a Humphrey, who is still fairly cheap, 478 in this format, break even of 10, so can definitely go for him and will help me across the further buys as well as that. So if we just hit this again, obviously Sicily isn't playing, but we've got 6 here. Hopefully the O'Sheen holds, the Irishman. We've got 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm counting Chester, probably not. So 11, 12 for English, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. We'll get Sharp here. We'll get Andy on there. So, look, I should have about 18. Probably not going to count Drury. Probably won't play. And Chester. So, it'd be lucky if they played, but unlikely. I should have 18 otherwise. Van Rooyen probably hold one more trade next week. So that's what I'm looking at. You could get Wardlaw, you could get Ford in this format as well. I could just hold Samson, reverse that, and do a sort of dead rook like a Chester or something to a Ford. If I can afford that, but I might not be able to do those trades if I do. So. That's what I'm thinking currently in fantasy, but I'm sure I'll ask JD and George what they think, and you guys let me know below. But that's what I'm looking at. That's hopefully can finish top 100 and get a hat last year, like JD did last year. But yeah, that's been a long one. Thanks for watching. Yeah, interesting one. Bit of carnage this week. We'll talk about it on the pod tomorrow night. Yeah, I mean, George is praying that the Crows challenge Led's suspension, and I am too, because it's just been insult to injury year, week upon week for me this year. Like, just getting in Laird, getting suspended, getting in Toog, injury after injury. I mean, yeah, look, I'm not alone. There's a lot of people copping it as well. It's been a lot of injuries this year, a lot of suspensions, but it's the nature of the game. It's the way it is. Thanks for watching again, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.
Got the mojo deals, we been tripping like, hey, pulling out the coupe at the lot.